So just a few mods here up front. The way it comes stock is the wires are crossed and they go underneath the axle, and sometimes they can foul on it and cause some friction. So I took them and I routed them over the top, and Policar knows you're going to do that. That's why they have these little guides made right here for the wires to go in. Plus I used some UV glue, a little bit right there on the top. Just any brand will do. But I did have to take the motor and I flipped it so that I could uncross the wires and just run them straight like that. So that little screw right there, just took it out, popped the motor out, flipped it over, put it back. There we go. As far as the rest of the mods are concerned, just some simple stuff that I like to do. I took a file, some sandpaper, and filed and cleaned these areas up, because as we've shown before, that the linkages right here, the suspension, the stuff, the plastic can rub, and I'll try to show better photos, but they can make contact with this wheel and cause some drag effect. So I just took a flat file, sanded that off, and then right here too, right here at the tops, as you can see here and here, I've sanded those areas so they don't rub on the wheel. And then finally I took a rat tail file, round file, and just went through the assembly like this, just cleaning it up. And I did that on both sides like that, just like that, and there we go, spinning freely when this turns, no problem, and it clears the body work here. So just tucking it in just like that. You can see it routed just right over there, and then just a little UV glue or your favorite adhesive just to put it there. Good to go. Everything else though, we left the stock motor in place, just a little lubrication, stock tires, and then we'll talk about the screws back here for float next. If you want to true the front wheels and tires, yes, they're plastic and they're press-on, but it's very tight fit, but it may give under too much pressure in your tire truer. So what I like to do is we'll twist that off just like that. Like I said, it's pretty tight, and then I'll just add a little bit of nail polish. So this is just a temporary fix right there, and just a little bit on the tip right there, and then we can put our wheel back on, right, and just press it on there. And now I'll let it sit for about 20 minutes and it'll dry. Then we can put it in the machine. We can surface the wheels here, right here at the hub, and then put the tires on. But just that little bit of adhesive, the nail polish there, is just enough to hold it on here, as long as you just don't go too crazy with the pressure. Before I put the other wheel on, I just install some bushings here, some standard 3/32 bushings. I get mine from Slocker Corner. I install those, then I glue this wheel in place, wait for about 20 minutes, we're ready to go. And just be careful when you're sanding here, as the pulley with the belt is larger diameter than the wheel, so just have to do one side at a time. You can see I haven't removed a lot of plastic, just cleaning it up. Basically the overspray is gone, just showing some bare white plastic. That's all you need. You don't want to reduce the diameter. I've already done both. Now it's time to put the tires on. Do the same. And there we go. Just add a little bit of water there. Helps give you a visual there in the paper how much we're sanding. Again, 4.5, 5 bolts. All we need to do. If you want to make zero grips and you want to coat these with 4 polish or whatever, you can do it in the machine or just take it out and do it by hand. It's up to you. And there we go. Put back together. All nice and smooth. Free spinning. I'll take it. You know these cheap screwdrivers. You've seen them in the dollar bin and you're like, ah, they're junk. I guess that's true. But they serve a purpose for this car. Actually, two. So let's take a look. The first application, these brass flathead screws that they use here in the pod assembly and here in the rear. You're familiar with these if you've worked on these Policars before and you need something narrow to get in there to take these out, adjust them, etc. So it comes in handy. Moving on to the next use, there'll be a small Phillips there, and that is for this world's smallest screw. Well, it isn't, but it's an eyeglass screw, and Policar uses it to mount the motor, to secure the motor in the pod, as you can see right there, right here. So it's going to take a smaller screwdriver to take them out, and that's where this comes in handy. What I'd like to say to you is, if you lose it, which if you have fingers like mine, like bratwurst, and you're careless, you will lose it. Don't panic, okay? These motors are not the super Cobalt Magna thruster commercial motors twisting with a lot of torque, okay? You snap this in place and then just take any good old-fashioned silicone, E6000 is my favorite, or any adhesive, something like that. You know, don't use super glue. You want to be able to get the motor out if you need to, but just put a little coat of the silicone right here. UV glue works as well. Like I said, there's not a lot of torque here, so with it snapping in front like that, it actually holds it in place pretty well. So just a little bit of adhesive, so if and when you lose the screw, like I said, don't panic. You'll be all right. Isn't that annoying? That's okay. That's about average for these motors. Not much ampere wattage, these little things, but plenty of RPM. Too much for some, not enough for others. You know how it goes. By the way, if you don't have to remove the pinion, don't. Unless it's damaged or something, just leave it be. And you can see it's plastic, has a bevel to it, and the motor shaft is splined, so it holds it on there pretty well. But to remove it, you see the sleeve, I just use these sprue cutters at an angle just carefully here. Just carefully, you don't want to go too far. And then just give it a little bit of pressure, just like that, pops it loose, and off it comes. And then, of course, we just press it back on by hand. We're good to go. But like I said, if you don't have to, don't. I believe Swift Slots would call this a pain in the pinion, so don't do it. So be advised, this pinion, it's not like the standard size brass pinion they had before. You will have to make sure that you have this installed correctly. As you can see there from the motor shaft exposed, that's just about where you want it. That's why they have the sleeve there on the back of it, because if you don't install it far enough on the motor, in other words, back towards the gears here, you'll cause excess pressure right here against this crown. So if you're testing your car and you're thinking, man, that's really super tight, that's one of the culprits. Is just make sure if you took the pinion off that you put it back where you found it. And then, of course, always your axle sleeve here, check that, make sure we're not binding, and proper lubrication. If you'd like to protect your electrical connections, but shrink tubing's just not an option, too small, etc., you have to try some of this liquid electrical tape. We've used it in the RC world for tires, and it works great here when I'm doing light kits, things of that nature. And I just put a little bit on a toothpick and coat the area like that, and here in about 15 minutes it'll have exactly what you expect, a nice durable rubber coating, liquid electrical tape. So if you're like me, give it a shot. Another use for the liquid electrical tape, right here, your lead wires. It does improve the security, but it also improves the strength right here at the flex point. So just giving it a nice little rubber coating like that, yeah, does the trick. As far as adding weight, you don't have a lot of room to work with, but there is this area here, and it's good because this motor, stock motor, pretty powerful. Sometimes, depending on your track conditions, etc., you might find that the car lifts out a little bit too easy, and just a gram or two goes a long way. At least it does on our track. So, but again, you have to experiment for yourself. So you can use just little slices of lead. I've got some 1mm right here, and you can add just a little bit there. Just like I said, experiment. You can also use some of the Loctite, the Fun Tack. You can actually roll that up and build it up and put that around on the inside too, just to add a few grams. Anyway, just an option. Give it a shot. As for placement underneath, I know some clubs don't allow it, but we do, as long as we have, that's right, clearance, and we're not dragging the track. We can get away with a little bit, and a little bit is right. You got just a bit over 2mm, so you have a little room to work with if you want to. Like I said, with these cars, a little bit goes a long way. So you can use some of the golf tape. I know that George has shown you in his tuning videos this lead tape. It really works. So you've got room here. You can put some here on the bottom of the motor. Don't worry about it overheating. It's not going to do that. I've tested it. You can put some right here too as well. And that's what we'll do. So, all right, have our weight together here on the bottom as well. Everything's back together. 44.5. That's pretty good. Pretty good. Here's a stock right here. 39.2. Like I said, a few grams. That goes a long way. So we'll put that back on there, and we'll throw our body there. Yeah, I'll take it. Just using the stock tires. Oh, you just can't even hear these things run. They're just so nice, so smooth. I don't know about you, but the gearbox system that they've used since the start, I've never had a failure. Of course, I'm not really racing them that hard, no endurance races or anything, but we've had quite a few hours, quite a few laps on these cars, and never had an issue. Anyway, a little bit of weight here and there, just a couple grams, really helps keep this car planted. There's less chatter. Front end sitting just right for our track. 3701. I'm not really even pushing it. 367. Oh yeah, beautiful. And there we go. Just a fun slot car. I expected nothing less. To me, that's not a whole lot of work. I'm just not a part of the plug and play crowd out there that thinks that you should just drop them on the track and go. These are for the enthusiast who like to tune, make the adjustments, the competition racer. That's why you have the pod assembly. You have the options that you do with these cars. You know, adding a little bit more float here and there, some weight here and there, tire changes. We didn't do that here, but these cars, again, they're just inviting you, the tuner, to pay a little attention to them and milk them for all they're worth. But that's just me. I just enjoy the tuning process, and just the sight of these cars, like I've said, is just, they're beautiful. I could never model one this nice. So I really do appreciate the effort that Policar has put into this series. It won't be my last one, I can tell you that. I just enjoy all of them. They're not perfect, and I'll never say they are, but they just don't need a whole lot. Just maybe a good owner to make the most out of them. Anyway, look forward to your reports out there if you have some. Let me know if you pick this car up too. I enjoy seeing the feedback, and on your track too, show some action. So, as always, we'll holler at you online. Y'all be safe.